All right, listen up, squad. That's right. It's halftime. So you know what that means? That means we're busting out $100,000 bottle of wine. It's electrolytes, probably. So I want you guys juiced up for this rest of the half. Next half. You know what I'm saying? I already opened it. I'm going to be honest. I dove in a little early.
Coach, every time we open the bottle of wine, we lose in the second half.
Yeah, but we enjoy it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Coach, I'm sick of having fun. I want to win.
Touche. We'll get there. We'll move to beer.
BeatiDudes!
Oh yeah, BeatiDudes. Welcome to an extremely special episode of the BeatiDudes. My name is Jeff Schuffelbein. I'm one of the co-founding BeatiDudes, a co-dude, and I'm so excited to be on our first off-site remote recording along with the Tiny Table. But the Tiny Table comes, of course, with a special guest that we'll meet in a second, but also with the co-dudes, Nick Eyebrows Besner.
What's going on, everybody?
Listen to that deep baritone. Unbelievable. His voice changes right when the podcast starts.
Yeah.
Hey, baby.
Usually very high-pitched.
And then, of course, Paul, who's the man of a million voices, if I want to set you up, Colker.
Why, hello, everybody. Yes, happy to be here.
That's the one you went with.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could have gone anywhere. You could have
Oh, hey, whoa, thank you very much.
Well, good. Well, this is a real treat. We are actually in Austin, Texas. We have never been outside of our own studio, but it turns out they don't have tiny tables in Austin, so we traveled with this one.
We brought it. We packed it.
And on the way down here, I remember we stopped for gas, and Paul said, "Is the car locked?" And I said, "You bet it's locked. There's a tiny table in there." He said, "Yeah, and like 4 work computers." I'm like, "Those are replaceable."
Touche.
So we were invited guests, still trying to figure this one out, by the DCX community and the DCX conference that's happening about work and faith. This week, we're in the middle of October down in Austin, and there's a bunch of really great keynote speakers here, and one of them happens to be sitting between my two bro hosts.
Heyo.
Hey, Jordan. This is Jordan Raynor. Welcome to the BeatiDudes.
It's a joy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Why would you say yes to this one?
I don't know. I did it. My assistant said yes. I don't know what I'm doing. No, I'm just kidding.
I spent a long time buttering her up.
Hey, there you go. There you
You're
go.
doing a great job.
That's right.
Great
Thank you,
job.
Kayla.
Yeah.
No, so what? Tell me about this whole trip you're making and what's going on for you on this week.
Yeah, so I'm on the road quite a bit these days, talking about how our work matters for eternity beyond the typical answer of, oh, my job is my mission field. I think a lot of Christians are there. We understand that our work matters because we get to share the gospel with those we work with. But what about beyond that? Right? Because let's be honest, about 0.1% of the time we spend at work is walking somebody through the Romans road. Does the other 99.9% of time matter to God? And the answer in Scripture is definitively yes. And so that's what I'm talking about tonight at DCX. It's what I'm talking about all over the country these days.
Incredible. Wow. Your journey. How did you go from, I don't even know, you're a Floridian.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, good things come from Florida originally. They don't just move there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Tell us about your journey growing up into now being a full-time speaker, author. You've got a lot going on. I think venture-backed tech companies. You've got a lot going on.
Yeah, so venture-backed tech companies is the majority of my career. So I spent the first 10 years of my career as a tech entrepreneur, started and sold a couple of ventures. And it was actually about halfway through my 10 years as a full-time tech CEO that this story really started to begin, that is really the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. I was in the process of selling my second company. I was trying to figure out what in the world I was going to go do next. And when you sell 2 companies, the natural thing is, you go start a third, right? So that was the plan.
Right.
But I remember sitting in church one Sunday, hearing a sermon and feeling a tremendous amount of guilt, a feeling I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers are familiar with, of how dare I want to go start another business when there's a need for people to move to mud huts 5,000 miles away from home to make disciples of all nations and to go plant churches. And so for a hot minute there, my wife and I were really seriously praying about planting a church instead of starting another business. And by the grace of God alone, one Sunday after church, I had this godly mentor pull me aside. And he's like, hey, I heard you're thinking about planting a church. And I think this guy's going to pat me on the back, maybe write me my first check,
Jordan.
ready to go. And he just looks me dead in the eyes. He's like, yeah, I got to be honest, that sounds really dumb for you. I was like,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Speaking the truth.
What are you talking about, Rick? He's like, Jordan, You're a talented entrepreneur. I've seen you create jobs. I've seen you serve your investors and customers with excellence. Why do you think you have to plant a church to do ministry? Don't you get that your work as an entrepreneur is ministry? And I looked at this guy like he had three heads. I was like, I literally have no framework for what you're talking about. And so he told me, he's like, hey, listen, here's what I want you to do. With this conversation in the background of your head, I want you to go back and read Genesis 1 and 2. I'm like, Genesis 1 and 2, I've read Genesis 1 and 2 100 times, right? But I did, and what I saw changed my life forever. I saw that long before God tells us that he is holy or loving or omnipotent, he tells us that he is a God who creates. It's literally the first verb in the Bible. He's a God who works. And long before God handed us the Great Commission, which is indeed great, a non-optional command for every follower of Jesus, he gives us the first commission in Genesis 1, 26 through 28, simply to make this earth more useful for other human beings' benefit and enjoyment. So long story short, I did not plant that church. I went and ran another tech startup. And by God's grace, for the first time in my life, felt fully alive Monday through Friday. Because I understood that this work of taking laptops and software and people and office buildings and microphones or whatever and using it in a way that glorifies God and loves my neighbor as myself is intrinsically valuable. Even on the days when I don't explicitly with my words get to point somebody to Jesus, although those are many, even on the days when I don't do that, my work deeply matters to God and matters for eternity. So that was a game changer for me, man. And it mattered so much that eventually wrote a book on this topic while I was running that tech startup. And now I'm still involved with that tech startup. I'm still chairman of the board, but spending a lot of my time championing this message through books and speeches and podcasts and all that good stuff.
And am I not mistaken? It's not like a small tech startup. This is a big deal.
Yeah. It's a decent-sized company. Yeah.
This is the 360.
Yeah, this is a company called Threshold 360. It's a super, super fun venture. We've built what we believe to be the world's largest library of 360 virtual tours for public locations.
Oh.
So not residential real estate. 360 tours have been around for like, I don't know, 30 years in residential real estate.
Yeah.
But if you go on Google and find interior 360 imagery of a hotel or a restaurant or a shop or attraction, chances are good it's us that's created that content. We're Google's #1 provider of this imagery, is to the best of my knowledge. And so, yeah, it's a fun venture. I ran as CEO for 2.5 years, and now I serve as chairman.
Jordan, I love this because so many times if you're talking to somebody who's like on fire for their faith and they want to do everything right, they start hiding from things like Google and big companies. And we're not called to hide. We're called to create and play in the world that we're in.
Be salt and light. Yeah.
And here you are. I'm going back to your bio, but a 2-time Google Fellow. Yep. I don't know any other Google Fellows. I feel very special to be 2 people.
I don't
away
either. I
from
made
you.
it up. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
We're pretty good at that too. But then you step out into faith. Are you doing this while you have kids at home? What's your scenario when you're in that trajectory of your life?
Yeah. So that is the most unique job I have. I hesitate to say most important, but I get to be the dad to Ellis and Kate and Emery, who are 9, 7, and almost 4. We adopted Emery at birth 4 years ago. We're huge fans of adoption. And yeah, listen, work callings change as seasons of life change. Part of the reason why I stepped down as CEO of Threshold was my kids were young, and traveling 5 nights at a time from Florida to San Francisco to go raise capital was really a grind, right? Travel I do now. I'm in Austin tonight for 1 night, and then I get to go back. That works for my family. But this is a really sweet season of doing the work that I get to do in my office and doing the work I get to do downstairs and discipling my kids and raising them up in the Word and trying to point them to Jesus.
Incredible. Let's talk about for a second, how many books have you written and which one do you get the most excited about talking about?
Yeah, so I think this is the 5th or 6th that I've written.
5th or 6th.
5th or 6th, something like that. I know. It's called the Sacredness.
We either have 1,000 or 200,000 followers.
Exactly. Give or take. Give or take. I would say, man, the one I'm always most excited about is the one that I've just written. And so I finished writing this book. And I'm excited about it because I'm hoping it takes this conversation about faith and work somewhere. I think for a long time, like I said before, Christians have understood that their work has instrumental value, right? I go to work and I can leverage it to the instrumental end of evangelism and making disciples, which 100% yes, right? but your work also has intrinsic value to God, right? Your work has intrinsic value because you have intrinsic value to God. And so wherever you show up, there is value simply by you being there and bringing the Holy Spirit with you. You know, we throw around these terms like secular. Lots of Christians describe their work as secular. Secular literally means without God. But we believe the Holy Spirit is dwelling inside of it. The only thing you need to do to instantly make your secular workplace sacred is walk through the front door or log on to Zoom. That's it. And it's instantly sacred, right? Yeah. But so many Christians can't see this, right? Because of our modern, very modern overemphasis on saving souls, and that's all that matters. And all that matters is saving souls and getting us all the hell out of here because the earth is going to burn up in the end. This is a lie. I would argue it's a heretical lie that demeans the value of this life, that demeans the value of our work with the material world to make the world more useful for other human beings' benefit and enjoyment. So my hope is that with this book, readers will see how 100% of their time, 100% of their life, 100% of their work can matter for eternity, not just the 1% of our time that we spend on exclusively spiritual tasks like evangelism and prayer.
Yeah, so you're arguing against that kind of false division there of saying, oh, spiritual stuff over here, and then my secular work over here.
That's exactly right. We are preaching in the last 200 years of church history. For the first time ever, we've begun preaching an abridged version of the gospel, right? Jesus came to save you and me from our sins. Every word of that is absolutely true.
Right.
It's just incomplete. Jesus came to save our souls and the entire material world, the spiritual and the material. And if that's true, then my work with the spiritual and material realms, saving souls, evangelism, prayer, and just taking this microphone and making a great podcast must matter to God because Jesus' blood paid to redeem everything that's around me right now.
Jordan, I was reading something you wrote, and it kind of goes back to this like human need for control of every situation. And it was like, because you had this inkling and you made this choice, and all of a sudden your business or your finances were blessed, doesn't mean God ordained that choice. Just like you doing the same thing over and over and suffering doesn't mean God is punishing you. And I think there's a beautiful reflection in there.
Yeah, man, I got a lot of hate mail for that devotion.
What? You're getting some love mail right here.
Yeah, I'm getting some love mail right here. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I was writing this devotional about Jesus' words in Matthew where he says that God makes it rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. God is good to his friends and his enemies. And there's a lot of practical application of that. Number one, it means that Christians can work with Christians and non-Christians alike. And number two, as you point out, Jeff, it forces us to decouple our success from our righteousness, right? I had a friend who came to me a couple weeks ago, was like, hey, yeah, you know, I just felt the Lord telling me to quit Instagram, right? And I did. And when I did, my business exploded. And it just goes to show that when you work as under the Lord, he blesses that. And I'm like, not so much, right? Like maybe, listen, maybe God blessed you because of your faithfulness, right? But that's not a guarantee. That God's not an ATM. No. If he makes it rain on the righteous and the unrighteous and is good to his enemies and his friends, then we can't look at success and work and point it to the fact that I had a consistent quiet time this week, right? God is good to us not because we are good to him. God is good to us because he is good. Yeah. And it's all unmerited grace and mercy and favor.
Did you tell your friend doom scrolling for 2 hours might have been part of the problem?
Right. That might have been it. Or if you free up all that extra time, maybe you have more time to devote to your business.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, listen, this is a very strange thing to do because our audio here is not completely built out, but we want to put you in this weird spot where you have to judge us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, great.
But awesome. You do get to give unmerited favor and grace to whoever you want. you just have to pick one of us is the thing.
And I know you can't see my name on the pizza box or whatever I drew up here.
Yeah, this is great.
Remember the name Jeff over here in the corner.
I got you, Jeff.
We have a little game.
Yes. It's called Blessed Are the Joke Makers, for they shall inherit the points.
This is my new favorite podcast. This is so good.
Normally, how would this normally work?
Well, yeah. So normally what we would do is we'd pick a character card and then we have a card game where we have a prompt. And so we have to answer the card game as the character.
Okay. Love it.
We forgot the cards because it's our first
Road
road
trip.
show. Yeah, first road show. But Jeff reached out to a few friends to get prompts.
Great.
Yes, and so we're going to use those prompts
That's
to
right.
initiate this game here.
I love it.
right, I
yeah,
just-
we're going to make this one worth 100 points.
100 points, nice and even.
Yep.
And the points,
Just like Who's Line. The
Yeah,
points don't matter.
and they don't.
This is great.
It's just personal pride.
I will
Yeah.
say we have a super fan that keeps track of our points and all the stats around it. So
This is amazing.
we did talk about the points on the way
Median
down here,
mode.
so they kind of do matter to us.
Yeah, we're
better
we're the
grade.
only ones that they
So
technically
I
matter. to.
only get to dole out 100 points.
100
One time.
points,
One person.
one person.
Yeah.
Great.
It's a lot of pressure.
This is a
Are
lot
you
of
ready?
pressure.
I mean,
I
you've
think
been a
I think
CEO
I
of
can
a
do
big
it.
tech
Yeah.
company.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
ready to
I
judge
think I can do this. Yeah.
All right, because I just have a list of here and I need it
Sure.
to be random. Give me a number 1 through 5.
4.
All right, so we're going to be a busy, and now give me a number 1 through 10.
10.
We're going to be a busy basketball coach,
Okay.
and we're going to be answering question 1 through 4.
2.
As a busy basketball coach, said, if I had $100,000 bottle of wine, I would open it for blank.
All right, guys. So you see here, we're going to go down the field. Sorry, the court. Get it. We're going to run pick and roll, screen it over here, and we're going to open it for Jordan.
I like it. I like it.
All right, listen up, squad. That's right. It's halftime. So you know what that means? That means we're busting out $100,000 bottle of wine. It's electrolytes, probably. So I want you guys juiced up for this rest of the half. Next half, you know what I'm saying? I already opened it. I'm gonna be honest. I dove in a little early.
Coach, every time we open the bottle of wine, we lose in the second half.
Yeah, but we enjoy it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Coach, I'm sick of having fun. I want to win.
Touche. We'll get there. We'll move to beer.
I just became a subplot to him.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You could give 100 points to the subplot.
You can.
But I won't. But I won't. This has got to go to Mr. Improv Paul.
Oh, yes.
Well done.
Thanks for
was
playing
good.
I
along.
like
That
the
was
move to
good.
beer at the end. That was good.
Pretend there's amazing music playing right now. Jordan, listen, for being our celebrity guest judge, we're going to give you a pair of socks. Now, this comes from a company called Sacredness.
Okay.
Sacredness.com. You can find all sorts of cool socks. Right now, I'm wearing the Risen Christ.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation starter. I'm pretty sure these guys have on socks too, but I didn't want to throw some like uber Catholic sock at you. So we got you the empty tomb socks.
This is incredible.
He is
Sacrilegious.
risen.
He is
I will
risen.
likely be wearing these at my speech tonight.
Yeah,
This is
sir.
incredible. Amazing.
awesome.
Thank you. This
Yeah,
is great.
So lots of options at sacreligious.com. And for any BeatiDudes out there, 10% off sacreligious.com/BeatiDudes. And we'll see you right after the break.
The team at Aquinas Wealth Advisors believes that good values and good returns are not mutually exclusive. Using a tech-smart and morally sound approach, they provide investment alternatives that align with Catholic teachings without sacrificing returns. These days, faith-driven investors are finding it hard to know where their money is going. They have no visibility into what their dollars are supporting, but there's a better way. Thanks to the Faith and Finance Score from Aquinas Wealth Advisors, you can look into your current holdings to see what you're supporting and make a switch to an advisor that aligns with your values and gives power to your voice. Check out AquinasWealth.com today.
Hey y'all, this is Jeff Scheffelbein. When Nick and I set out to start our new company, Undivided Life, we were really concerned about how would we cover the healthcare needs of our growing families, and we were so excited to find a company that fit both our medical needs and our faith beliefs perfectly. It's called Solidarity Health Share. It is an ethical alternative to traditional health insurance. We're never part of sharing in the medical costs of anything that goes against the teachings of the Catholic Church, making it a great alternative for Catholics and Christians alike. Solidarity is very affordable, which is perfect for a large family or for a new and growing business like the one we've started. So visit joinsolidarity.com today so that you can get started with us.
Hi, it's Paul Kolker from the BeatiDudes here, and I just wanted to share with you guys that I also, outside of the show, perform improv comedy on a regular basis with a group called Divine Comedy. So what we do is we come up with everything on the spot. So whether you're looking for faith-filled, fun, family-friendly comedy for your youth night, or whether you're looking for clean comedy for your corporate event, Divine Comedy can perform for your group and even get you in on the action. So if you'd like to hire us to come out and perform for your next event, check out divinecomedyimprov.com. Divine Comedy, an inferno of fun.
Welcome back, everybody. We're sitting here with Jordan Raynor. So happy to have you with us here in Austin, Texas. And, Jordan, one of the things you said in the first segment there, talking about Genesis, and it's kind of put on our hearts to create.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like, one of the things I go back to is we were created by the Creator to create. Like
Yes.
that's that kind of refrain. So tie that into this new book you've got. Just let you go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's this nasty little lie running around the church in the last 200 years that says that the Great Commission to make disciples has canceled out the first commission just to make culture, right, that we see in Genesis 1. But when you look at the biblical narrative, we have a dual vocation in the present. Right, the Great Commission and the First Commission that was laid down in Genesis 1 to fill the earth, subdue it, and make it more useful for other human beings' benefit and enjoyment. That First Commission becomes more difficult post-Genesis 3, but God continues to reiterate it and bless it, literally all the way from Genesis 1 to Revelation 22. Genesis 1, God says, fill the earth, subdue it. What does he say in Revelation 22:5? What are we going to be doing for eternity on the new earth? Not sing, Lord, I lift your name on high forever and ever. Not recline in a hammock forever and ever. Revelation 22:5 says, we will reign forever and ever. And Isaiah 65, which is the best biblical commentary we have on Revelation 22, explains what that means. You know what it says, what we're going to do? It says, we're going to build houses and dwell in them, create. We're going to plant vineyards, create, and eat their fruit. My chosen ones will long enjoy the work of their hands, and they will not labor in vain. All the way from Genesis 1 to Revelation 22, God's vision of paradise is not a vacation, but a vocation, co-laboring alongside him to joyfully, worshipfully create and make more of this world.
Wow, so house builders have a vocation there. What about podcasts?
Hey, I don't know. I think we're doing this on the new earth. I think the BeatiDudes are doing this on
I
the new
also
earth.
heard on the new earth that $100,000 bottle of wine is going to be readily accessible.
That's right.
I'll see you on
Don't
the
bring-
basketball
Yeah,
court.
Only gonna have $100,000 bottles
That's
of wine.
it.
Don't bring it out at the end of the wedding.
No more barefoot wine. Yeah. No.
That's right.
Wow, so that just sanctifies all of it, though, because I mean,
Yes.
if you're looking forward with the anticipation that it's not as though we get a break from it, but now the labor is transformed,
Yes.
then that transforms with the labor we're doing right now.
And it's so hard for us to imagine what work will be like without sin, right? Our work is so difficult. Thorns and thistles fight back against our work. But Isaiah 65 says our eternal work, our labor will not be in vain. There will be no vanity, right? It will be all honey and no bees. It'll be difficult but fruitful, challenging but satisfying, right? And it's hard for us to wrap our heads around that. But you're right, Paul. If what God has created us to do for eternity is to work with him, then we can rehearse the eternal today because God is with us in this room right now. I genuinely believe that what we are doing right now is a foretaste and a preview of what we're going to be doing forever. The only difference is the risen Christ might walk through that door and join us as a beatitude, right? That sounds pretty cool to me.
That sounds awesome.
We'll take any guest suggestions you have after that one.
Wait, I want to also emphasize something you said in the earlier part of the show.
Yeah.
Because you said your friend Rick, right?
Yeah.
Who basically stopped you in your tracks and said, no, don't go off on mission work.
Yeah.
Stay and do what you do best,
Yeah.
which was entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Well, entrepreneurship creates jobs for people.
Yes.
So getting to the creation part, right? But then people need jobs so that they can exercise this labor that you're talking about. so that you are creating what lets other people create. As an entrepreneur, it's almost an even higher vocation in that sense.
I don't know if I'd say it's a higher vocation, but you're 100% right. in
Yeah,
what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
I might have embellished a little bit, but
you're
yeah,
100%
yeah.
right. You are creating a canvas for others to work out their God-given gifts and
Yeah.
do the thing that God made them to do in the beginning, redeem them to do today, and that we're going to be doing forever and ever. That I can't think of many more vocations that feel nobler than that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is the thing God made us to do. I would argue when you look at Genesis 1, God was the first entrepreneur. Right? What's entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is taking a risk to create something new for the good of others. Look at Genesis 1. Did God create new things? Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Did he create for the good of others? Of course he did. He didn't need to create. He created to share his love with us. Did he take a risk? Now we're getting into some tricky theological territory. But we do know this. We know that when God created humankind, he knew from the beginning it was going to cost him his son. So maybe risk isn't the right word. Maybe it's sacrifice, but God absolutely sacrificed to create something new for the good of others. He's the first entrepreneur. And so when we create in the world, when we make this world more useful for other human beings, we're reflecting his image as the creator God out to the world.
And I think that's why like Praxis Labs and the
I love
redemptive
these guys.
framework, right? Like the I sacrifice, we win mentality. It's like it's in us because it's in him, and
Yes.
we are in his image.
Yes, that's exactly right. To sacrifice as we work, to sacrifice as we create, is to work in the image of God.
Got a book in front of us. What's going on with this book?
I do. This is the, what do we call this? The exclusive advance copy. I don't know, limited edition, whatever. But this is
Coming
coming
to
out.
sign it for the Beatitudes?
Hey, I wish.
So he can then give it away
That's
tonight
right.
to
You
somebody.
signed right.
His book.
That's right. Yeah, so this is dropping January 30th, 2024. It's called The Sacredness of Secular Work, 4 Ways Your Job Matters for Eternity, even when you're not sharing the gospel. So again, helping the believer see how 100% of their time at work can contribute to God's eternal future, not just the time we spend on exclusively spiritual tasks. Yeah.
Well, and that it can all be offered as a prayer as well.
Yes.
So you're participating in the creation portion of things, but then in a very real way, we can offer it as a redeeming, to unite ourselves to the Lord.
Yeah, Psalm 37:23 says, "The Lord directs the steps of the godly, and he delights in every detail of their lives." He doesn't just delight in you when you are praying to him. He doesn't just delight in you when you're writing a check to your church. Everything you do at work today with excellence and love and in accordance with God's commands is an ingredient to God's eternal pleasure. That's the heart of this book, is helping readers to see how that's even possible.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to scratch the surface of that with this book.
So let's dive into a fun thing. We do every show. We do a TBD question. TBD stands for the BeatiDudes.
The BeatiDudes.
Yeah.
Love
We've butchered most of the words in the world.
That's good.
I can't
love
say,
butchering
I
the
can't
English
even
language.
say
Yeah.
Deuteronomy anymore. So
He's gonna.
ridiculous,
You're
yeah.
trying to get him to accidentally say it on
I know,
stage, aren't you?
Yeah, we're just gonna keep planting these seeds. So good. But we have a BeatiDudes TBD question for all 4 of us.
Love
and
it.
I think it's in this whole vein of it's not just when things are good. All of us have had a job that wasn't our favorite. Some of us have had jobs that we really disliked. We've had bosses that were tough. We've had situations that were tough. So the question today is talk about one of your least favorite jobs or roles and some sort of virtue or lesson or learning that came from that. Like, what did that do to prepare you, to grow you, to form you? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So it was my first internship. I was pretty happy about it as a cost accounting intern. So I was an accounting major. I actually like accounting.
I love it.
So that was not.
So that's the thing.
So that's the thing.
He's
People like
also a
that.
comedian.
That's what that sentence sounds like.
Yeah.
That's not in this book.
However, giving a kind of young new person on the team nothing to do for an entire summer and then giving them 5 stars across the board was soul crushing. Like it was absolutely bananas, as we've said. People, for me, the biggest takeaway is people want challenge in work. Without that challenge, there's no satisfaction of completing that job well done, right? If you're just saying hey, show up, watch YouTube, do nothing, that's not a very meaningful life. So that was a very early and good experience
That's good.
That's a
because
great
of the lesson.
It's good.
Yeah. What about you?
So it's going to sound like a weird one. I had this incredible experience to intern in the White House under George W. Bush. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, that must have been amazing. Honestly, it kind of sucked. I had a really cruel person that I was working for, one of my many bosses. And the lesson I took from it, I didn't take from it during the internship. There was no good that I could see come of that during the internship. It was only years later that I was able to look back on it and be like, man, that's when I learned how to write. Like, my job is basically to write political briefings for my boss to brief the president whenever the president was traveling. And I hated the job in the moment. But the lesson I take from that now is, man, even when our labor is difficult, God is working everything for the good of those who love him, Romans 8:28. And you might not see that good for a long time. You might not even see it on this side of eternity, but we can trust in his promises. And that's one example of how I've seen that promise come to fruition.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for all of your good work as strategery.
That's it.
That's right.
That's pretty good.
And for supporting the nuclear family. Stole that one from Nick. He set me up for that.
Jordan, you spent that whole time in the basement.
That's right.
Chief strategist.
Illinois.
That's it. All right. Yeah, I'll jump in, though. Mine is pretty short and sweet, but it was one of like the first real jobs I had. I mean, I did part-time little things here and there, and my dad and his dad ran their own company, so every so often I would just jump in and do something for like, $3 an hour when I was a kid kind of thing. And so they were teaching me those lessons, but my first job kind of out from under the wings of my family was I was at a tennis pro shop, and I was just the sales clerk kind of person, just up at the front desk there, and booking courts and things like that. And I mean, so it wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't even really that fun. I mean, it was kind of interesting at times, but and I was what, maybe 15 or something like that. And so in retrospect, even though I didn't really enjoy it that much at the time, I realized, okay, well, this is teaching me how to interact with a customer, and even if the customer is kind of a snooty, I mean, like it was very much that uptown living sort of thing, where it was just, they could be like, oh, give me this right now, and just kind of rude and abrupt and all of that. And so just learning how to roll with those punches and still put on a good face and all of that. Yeah.
Good one. So my one worst job, I always say this in my talks, I got a bad job at a good company. And it's because I don't ever want Frito-Lay to think I don't like them.
It's not you, it's me.
But when the chips are down,
I'm going to tell you, it gets
gets a little cheesy.
So I worked in a manufacturing facility. I was in charge of 3 lines of corn product. My title, for crying out loud, was Corn Resource.
Amazing.
I stayed single that year, Jordan.
You don't say. You don't say.
And so what was interesting to me was I was the wrong fit for that job altogether. That's like an engineer's job to do what I was doing. And I was pretty miserable. But what I did do was walk the floor all the time, just talking to people and getting to know them and their story and understanding how hard their job was. I did jobs that were very difficult to do, like packing a line of chips looks easy until you do it for about 3 minutes and your arms are falling off, And so what I realized in that whole process and in the way that I received feedback there was that people they felt seen and heard by me, and not that I was a manager that stayed up, in the upper offices and just barked out whatever the next command was. The truth is I didn't know what the next command was. So to look like I was good at my job, I walked around a lot, but I learned the value of just truly seeing people for who they are and not having any pretense or any kind of layers to that setup allowed me to be in real relationship. Yeah. And so when I left, I didn't miss the job, but I certainly loved my time with those people.
Yeah,
so,
it's good.
Yeah. Well, listen, this is a weird show, the BeatiDudes. I hope you have figured that out already.
Yeah. What is this?
So I don't know if you grew up watching The Simpsons ever, but The Simpsons has all this stuff at the beginning of their show. They do everything differently. Like there's different stuff on the chalkboard, different stuff kind of at the couch part. We decided when we started this show to have reverse Simpsons. We just end our Monday shows differently than any other show that we've ever done. So we have to get pretty creative. Yeah. And today's ending is you're the host of the BeatiDudes, or whatever this show is called for you. We're happy to be your guest here to finish out the show.
Yeah. So it's not to confuse the listener. Let's keep it BeatiDudes.
Okay.
I told you on the way in.
New
favorite podcast name.
he's good with branding.
New favorite podcast.
Great brand. Solid name.
So we've been talking about the sacredness of secular work and the ministry of all these jobs that make the world more useful for other human beings' benefit and enjoyment. Look around this room, and it probably took hundreds of thousands of jobs to pull off this podcast
Incredible.
recording.
Yeah.
That's a really good
Name
point.
a job that you are really grateful for, for making this work happen. Christian or not, God's working through common grace through all sorts of people. Which jobs do you want to call out and say thank you for?
Foundation work for a stable building.
There you go. That's great.
Yeah. Electricity, keeping the lights on.
Electricians, go you.
Yeah, I think like the timbermen getting our tiny table made out of wood. The wall. I mean,
Tiny
somebody had to cut down a tree somewhere.
Yeah. I love
crazy.
this. I'm thankful for audio engineers. Like, this is a miracle. I bet this microphone took, man, if you go to go all the way to the source of mining these metals out of the ground, this alone took hundreds of thousands of people, and God is extending his grace to us through the labor of people whose jobs seem totally insignificant, but that God is using for a greater good. It's pretty incredible to think about. Wow.
Yeah, because it's so far removed from this immediate moment. So to stop and actually reflect on that is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah. There's a great book called Thanks 1,000 by A.J. Jacobs, who's not a believer, but man, I would be surprised if he became one after writing this book. His goal was to thank every single person in the world that was involved with making his morning cup of coffee. It's like a fascinating.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Wow.
He basically came to the conclusion of I would have to thank every single person in the world. I'd have to thank Beyonce because Beyonce was playing in somebody's ear when they, made this cup or like whatever it was. But it's a fascinating exercise in gratitude, and also a really fascinating exercise to appreciate just how much God can do with seemingly ordinary work.
Well, and that hits on the scripture of I desire thanksgiving more than sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right. And really, when we're doing this exercise, we're kind of looking at both because we're being thankful for the sacrifices other people made to help make this moment possible.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's exactly right. Well, thanks for coming to my show, guys. Longest 3-minute episode of all time. But
Thanks for allowing us to sit so close to you on your podcast.
Yeah. Just something about
no
this.
problem. This table really is tiny for those at home.
Luckily, we've had some big boys on here. Luckily, you fit the tiny table well.
Thank God I'm 5'6".
Yeah, I don't know if this is a reverse compliment, but
I dig it.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, the final conclusion of this is stick around because on Friday we're going to have a bonus show. We're going to learn more about what Jordan is going to challenge you with to match what he's going to challenge the audience at the conference tonight for work and faith. On behalf of Jordan Raynor and all the BeatiDudes, we're grateful to see you here in Austin, Texas, and for everybody else, we will
See you in the Eucharist. God bless. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @ that's the symbol @, so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @the_BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.
This podcast is part of the Spoke Street Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.